if you go by public positions that people take, that should not be what drives this debate. It should be about the feelings of the individuals involved.
Muy buenas noches, gracias Puneet por la oportunidad. De hecho, yo quisiera felicitarte por, bueno, todo lo que has hecho. Yo quisiera empezar por una serie en la cual se llama Arsu He-Man. O sea, es una historia en la cual pude yo conocer gracias a Jake Dallas, que fue una de las compañeras que estuvo acá en el canal hace mucho tiempo. Habla sobre la cuestión de romance político, que es la cuestión de cómo podemos no solo pues ver las formas de la política en un término positivo, pero también en la política se lleva dentro de este entorno nuevos colegas y nuevos amores. ¿Qué opinas sobre esta historia?
First, a bit hi to Jackie Dallas. She was here on the channel and you are here thanks to her. Hi, Jackie. And yes, thanks to Jackie, we know the production Arsu Eman. I hope I pronounced it right. So, yeah, man, what memories do you got from this project? Because we know that deals with politics, but in a very different way. I don't know. Tell us more about Arsu Eman.
Okay. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me on this show. Thank you, Jhon, and of course, thank you, Andres. I'm very glad to be here and very grateful that you have asked me to come and share some of my experiences. Starting with Arzu Eman. And of course, sorry, before I start, I should also say thank you to Jackie Dallas. She's our mutual friend. So about Arzu Eman, it is a series that was made to reflect some of the cultural clash that takes place in modern day America when people from a slightly different background come and make their home in America, right? So Arzu Eman is a story of at least two Pakistani American families that immigrated from Pakistan. They're settled here. And there are some interesting tensions that come from class and, divide based on, people who have money versus those who don't have so much money. So there's that element to it. And the character I play, Yasir Hayat Shah, that character actually is related to somebody back in Pakistan who is a very popular politician. So that's where the political angle comes in. Some of the action that takes place in the story is a result of that political connection. But the story is not so much about the politics as it is about, as I said, the cultural clash between generations and between different, backgrounds, if you will. So that's the context of that story. The whole show was filmed in the Urdu language, which is a language that was born in India. It is used across India and Pakistan and a few other places, and it's a very popular language in that sense. So it was mostly in Urdu with some English. So that was the background of that story. It was directed by a very prolific San Francisco Bay Area filmmaker, one Mr. Amir Jafar. And the story was written by one Zulfikar Talpur.
Hay un tema que sí es muy difícil y complicado de abordar, que es el tema del aborto. Es un tema mucho emocional y también polémico de debatirse porque habla sobre ver la perspectiva. Yo soy muy ajeno a lo que es debatir sobre esos temas, pero esta película trata de dar un mensaje de cómo podemos comportarnos ante ella. Entonces, quería preguntarle sobre Choice, ¿qué mensaje le dejáis a esa historia? Que debe conocer en estos casos las personas que de pronto están ajenas, pero de pronto me ejemplifico cómo es.
Okay, it's the second time that we talk about these production choices. Of course, Jackie told us about it, and you appear in there. You know that it's still been a controversial subject, abortion. But yeah, man, what I don't know how do this movie, this short film, serves for the debate or for getting a point of view about this subject. You know that some people tend to don't look up to the subject. Some people hate it. Some people, it always be controversial. So tell us about choices.
I'm happy to talk about choices because it is, I think, a work of, in my opinion, great importance. And I'm very humble and proud at the same time that I was able to do something about a topic that continues to be very controversial. Controversial. So actually, the seeds of this project were sown in my mind a long time ago because I once watched a debate between two individuals, individuals who presented opposite sides of the abortion debate. It was in a university setting, and one of the persons debating was actually the lawyer who had won the Roe v. Wade case, which had legalized abortion in the United States for the longest time until recently. And I could see that the passion that both sides had about the topic was very strong. And it was interesting to me that the arguments that we hear in the public discourse today around this topic is all about politics, it's all about maybe religion, and it's all about people getting very upset about something that I think is a very personal decision for the person who is seeking to get an abortion or not get an abortion. And obviously, it's a woman, and the woman, I think, who is in this situation, I think is the only one who really understands the pressures. And uh, and again, the idea of this story was not to pass judgment on either side of the issue, because we wanted to stay away from the politics, but the idea was to be able to say that, to show that this is a very human story. Human beings have their own motivations, and they have their own pressures, and they have their own feelings, and all of that results in them making a decision. Which, so that's why when we politicize the matter, or when we say that others should be making the decision, either in either direction, I think that is wrong. And that's why it is a matter of allowing the human being to sort of see how they connect with it. Because I happen to know many individuals who are very religious and would probably say that it is not the right thing to do, and that is perfectly fine for them. But then there are others who might think it is perfectly appropriate for them to consider such an action. Again, it's not our place to judge either side. It is a human being making a decision about their lives. So when I wrote this short story, I wanted to just present that point of view. And I wanted to also show the hypocrisy of the human nature. Because if you watch the film, you will see in Choices, the two characters start from opposite sides of the argument, and they kind of cross over because their situation changes. Of course, in the situation of the woman, in this case played by our good friend Jackie, who did such an amazing job as the lead actress, uh, hers is driven by what is happening with her. But the man in question, in that case played by me, is I think driven more by his own ambition. He doesn't want the news to come out, and he is hoping that she will get an abortion, even though he's very anti-abortion, right? So also this shows that the human being can be very hypocritical. We are at some level we all are hypocrites, because when it suits our purpose, we will change our position, which again brings us right back to the fact that if you go by public positions that people take, that should not be what drives this debate. It should be about the feelings of the individuals involved. So that was the whole context and surrounding of or I should say the surrounding factors that went into making this short film. And I mean, as you might have noticed, I wrote the screenplay for that as well. And it was well received by many. So thank you so much for asking me about Choices, because the strange thing is this film was made a couple of years back, and only less than a year ago, the whole abortion topic has blown up again in the United States, with the Supreme Court striking down the Roe v. Wade position. So it has again opened up this whole discussion, and I think the movie still has a lot of relevance because hopefully people will focus on the human beings and not on the politics.
And by the way, no, it's a pleasure. In fact, I'm glad also that John went invite Jackie because you know, and in fact, I know Jackie will see this, and I had to tell this to Jackie. Of course, she's really well known for her role on Stranger Things, and he got fans all around the world. It's crazy because when I upload the interview, Alberta Cross, the amazing indie band, sent a heart, and it was like, "Are you real?" So I don't know how that famous band get contacted to me, but that's not the question. The question is, the case is, we asked about this short film, and we are glad because this channel we focus in everything, not only in the big projects, and also congratulations because I know that you and Jackie won awards from this, and it's great that I hope this short film get seen because in Latin America, in Argentina it's legal now. In Colombia it's legal, but they keep changing the laws because yes, for the law is legal, but oh no, let's make it more difficult. And you know that this debate will always be. I don't know if you may know that in Colombia we changed the political course. We always been right in the right side, and now we're on the left. So let's see what happens. But no, it's a pleasure to ask about choices here.
So,
¿Cierto, John?
no, so I have
Tell me.
a little something quick to add here. I have some good news for all your fans and all your followers in Colombia. Very soon, because right now Choices can be watched on Amazon in the US and the UK, and it can be watched on Disney Hotstar in India, which is a big market, right? But very soon, Choices will be made available on another streaming platform, and people all over the world can watch it on that. I will not share the name right now, but we will make that announcement in the next few weeks because so I just wanted to let you, because I know by the time this goes out, that announcement might actually be out there. But if it's not, it's coming within a matter of couple of months or less. It should be available globally, very easily accessible to everyone, including in Colombia.
And let us know so we can share the word. John,
Absolutely.
Choices va a estar pronto en Colombia en un streaming. Él nos dice cuándo.
Wow, congratulations, man. Eso es
Thank you.
increíble.
No.
Thank you.
Hay un tema en el cual, bueno, dos temas en el cual son también, hay que tomarlo con neutralidad. Es un tema de la xenofobia y del autismo. Hay películas importantes como Estrellas en la Tierra y el tema que referenció, si no estoy mal, Estefano Lafre con la xenofobia, que Joy Boy también y todo eso, a pesar de ser violenta. Pero hay algo que sí te quiero pues, preguntar. Estos dos temas en su cine, ¿cómo se pueden, que la gente pueda tener como no empatía con las personas que lo sufren, sino
¿Entrevista?
un punto de vista diferente? O sea, que la persona pueda ser neutral con estos temas, porque si ejemplifica esto, hay una repercusión en otra.
And he's asking about Bobby. Bobby
Ah.
talks about autism and
Mhm.
xenophobia. And yeah, I mean, another two difficult subjects, but what can the people see in the short film about again taking risky subjects as Latinos and you as Asians, you know that we always deal with that. In fact, not only in the States, in Colombia we got a terrible subject because we hate some people, not myself, but we hate the neighbor, Venezuela. You know, and I know that in Asia happens in many countries that hate their country next to them, and of course about autism we still don't know much about the subject. I think in Colombia there are not many laws. In fact, I am a teacher, and I had to teach a boy with classroom full of people, and you know that is difficult because tell us more, man.
So first of all, Andres and John, I want to clarify, Bobby is not about xenophobia at all. So I don't know where you picked that up, because I'm curious if that has created the wrong impression. And therefore, I mean, yes, we can talk about xenophobia. It exists in our country as well. It exists everywhere. For that matter, it is a very sad thing. And we see a lot of attacks happening even now on people who are perceived to be foreigners and so forth. But in Bobby, it is definitely about autism, and it is about society, judging people for their disabilities or for their less than perfect, setting. But it is not about xenophobia. So let me clarify that. And now I can talk about Bobby, if that's okay with you. Is it okay?
Yes, yes, but I will ask John because he's the one.
Yeah.
John, Puneet tiene una pregunta muy interesante, que ¿por qué asumes que Bobby es about xenofobia si en realidad no trata ese tema? Trata sobre las barreras que tiene la gente en torno a las personas con autismo. Pero él quiere saber por qué, no lo estoy yendo en mala señal, sino
Claro.
por qué asumiste que es eso.
Pues porque cuando la gente va a tener la oportunidad de hablar con alguien que sufre de autismo, pues tiende a decir, ah, es de tal país, es de tal parte. Entonces, siempre yo lo que percibí es eso, porque mayormente cuando yo vi Estrellas en la Tierra, pues es un ejemplo.
Ah, es
Entonces, la
sobre
gente
otras
es,
películas.
exacto, entonces suelen asimilar a este contenido. Sí, no supe moldear la pregunta bien, lo siento.
No. It was an error, but in the way that he did the question. He's not talking about xenophobia in Bobby, but that in another movies that deals with autism, like Estrellas en el cielo de Falling Stars, ¿o cuál es esa?
Estrellas en la Tierra es una película hindú.
He saw a movie from India that deals with the subject, but in that movie, they told that the character got autism because he's from India.
De
So
Amir
the
Khan.
question is from American, yes. So the question is more that how Bobby deals with the subject of autism, knowing that other movies maybe tend to use that other subject that is xenophobia. So you are
Mm.
answering that your project is different because it not doesn't deal with xenophobia. So tell us more. It was a mistake of John doing the question in the in the,
No,
in
not
the
a
right way.
problem. Not a problem. So let me first address the small. Not, I shouldn't say small, but the subject about xenophobia, because that exists. We know. We all, so especially if you are from another country or from another background and you are living in a different setting, some people, unfortunately, we see that all over the world. So it is not exceptionally a problem only in the United States or in India, or for that matter in Colombia or anywhere else. I think everywhere people experience a little bit of that. Now, the difference in backgrounds sparks that. That's a sad truth of the human situation. Now, if there are disabilities that are in the mix, so for example, if there are people who are autistic or if they have other disabilities, combined with this can cause issues because it can lead to a denial of service, denial of support to the people who need it because of xenophobia. So that could be a whole different problem, right? But that problem gets convoluted. So I don't know the film that John watched or the other films that have dealt with the subject, but I can only imagine that it would be very complex, the whole setup, because you're dealing with more than one kind of problem at the same time. In the short film Bobby, our goal was to deal with just one little thing, and that is tell the story of Bobby. So if you watch the film, I hope you have, at the very end, there is we show the picture of the actual Bobby. So this is based on a true story. And so Bobby and his family decided they wanted to tell their story to the rest of the world. So when I was approached with the subject, it was a big responsibility to take that story and present it in a way that was accurate without sensationalizing, in any undue manner. And at the same time, it was something that was going to touch people in a way that they would know that they should guard against this kind of behavior around them, and they should allow their own love to, be the solution to all the problems. Because in the story, as you saw, there's a family that is struggling. This is an Indian couple or Indian family that, at least the father and mother of Bobby, have immigrated from India. That's what we show. And they are struggling with this notion of discovering that their child is autistic. So again, even today, in spite of all the information we have and the awareness we have around autism, there are still challenges because many people still don't get it. They still view this as a problem that is debilitating, as opposed to saying, okay, it's a problem that presents us with a situation that is different, not necessarily a huge negative thing. So they're dealing with that, and at the same time, they're dealing with the judgment of society around them. So in the movie, as you will probably have noticed, that there are scenes where their friends are talking, saying nasty things, right? And they're creating more issues for them. And again, that is something that happens perhaps in all cultures and societies, but certainly South Asian people are particularly notorious about, focusing on what will people say if they find out that my child is not perfect. What will people say if I cannot show the perfect image of a perfect successful family? So all these things play into people's minds. So that was the factor that was causing even more confusion. And so they struggled. But in the end, as we saw, Bobby has some degree of success, because once they came to the understanding of what it takes to support their child, their love for their child, and providing him with the right support environment, helped the story have a good outcome. So that was the context. We wanted it to not be about something that ends in a very negative way, because many stories can have not a very pleasant end. We know that. We wanted to leave our audience with an upbeat note, because we all want to feel optimistic, I think, at the end of the day, that things will get better. So hopefully Bobby was able to do that. I wrote the screenplay again for this, so I'm hoping that people will continue to appreciate it because it was even more challenging than writing Choices, because Choices was entirely fictional. This was based on somebody's life, so one had to be a little bit more careful and yet retain the dramatic element that is needed in any screenplay. And a quick shout out to the director, again, Amir Jafar, the same gentleman with whom I've done Choices as well as Arzu Eman. It's big kudos to him for pulling together the project, and some of the lead actors, they were wonderful, I think. Especially the one who plays the mother, Sarika Malhotra, her name is, and the young man who plays Bobby, Amog, as well as the little one, Siddhant Lochan, his name is. They were all wonderful in the film, and in addition to everybody else. So, and we shot this when we had just come out of our second lockdown in California. So no vaccines were around at that time. So we were testing and we were trying to keep ourselves safe. We followed all the guidelines that existed at that time to safely do it. And I'm happy to report nobody got sick with COVID. We were able to finish the shoot, but that presented a lot of challenges. So we ourselves went through some hardship to make the film, but we really wanted to tell the story.
Buena pregunta, como buen rebound y buena respuesta.
Bien, vamos a darle un fuerte aplauso. Bravo. Puneet.
Thank you.
Ben,
Gracias.
No, de
a
nada.
pleasure, man. Este es tu espacio para que digan no solo tus redes sociales, un saludo para Colombia. ¿Cuál es el próximo proyecto? Aunque este próximo proyecto en el que estás tú, siempre se vienen cosas sobre la cuestión de Saraba. Entonces, quisiera saber sobre qué nos espera y bueno, todas tus redes.
Puneet, the camera is yours, so you can tell your social media so people can follow you. Send a big hi to wherever you want, to Colombia, to the channel, even to Jackie, I don't know. And we know that there is a lot of projects coming, but one in particular is Sarava. So you can tell us something about it, go ahead.
Yes, yes, definitely. I want to talk about Saraba. Actually, the film has already been shot. It was going to be released in theaters across the world. It's a feature film. It was made in two countries, on two continents, shot partially in India and partially in North America. And it is ready to go. It was about to be released before COVID shut all the theaters down. And the filmmaker has decided to, revisit the whole plan of how the release will happen. So we are all hopeful it will happen sometime soon, hopefully in 23. That's what I keep telling him. Let's go make it happen. Saraba is a historical. So it actually is based on the story of a freedom fighter from India. And he was hanged by the British. Now, as your audience in Colombia may or may not know, the British colonized India for almost 200 years, or more than 200 years, right? Or something like that. And and in 19, uh, 15, I want to say, in 1915, I think, is when a young boy by the name of Kartar Singh Saraba was hanged by the British for his actions against the British government because he was trying to lead a band of revolutionaries to overthrow the British. And so this is part of India's history. And the most interesting part is that this whole story starts almost in San Francisco, which is again a very less known fact that that this movement had a lot to do with people who were immigrants from India but living in the San Francisco area who came together to sort of take action against the British government and try to tell them to leave India. And but anyway, so and when he was hanged, he was only 19 years old. He was a young boy, and he actually became the inspiration for other freedom fighters in India. One of them, people from India will know the name. In fact, he's very famous. His name is Shahid Bhagat Singh. And someone like Shahid Bhagat Singh was inspired by the life of Kartar Singh Saraba. So Saraba is a story about this boy. Now, my role in that is not a very big part, but I think it's a very pivotal role because when Kartar Singh Saraba came to the United States to study, he actually came to go to school at Berkeley. That was his background. When he came here, he met a lot of people. Many of them were people who were farmers and laborers who had come from India. But there was one person who was a very, very widely read, very well educated person who could speak many languages, was a philosopher. And that was a gentleman by the name of Lala Hardayal. And he's the one who sort of inspired Saraba in some ways through his speeches and so forth. And Lala Hardayal also is known as a freedom fighter in India. In fact, he's recognized by the Indian postage stamp as well. I play the role of Lala Hardayal in this feature film. And it is my honor and privilege to play a role like that. And it's, like I said, not very long because the story is not about Hardayal, the story is about Saraba. But there are some very important pivotal scenes which show how their interaction moved forward. So it's a very interesting story which talks about this whole action. It's all, I haven't told you anything that is not already documented in history. So it's not like I'm giving away the plot, but it's made very well by one gentleman by the name of Mr. Kaviraz. He is a filmmaker in LA. And this film, I hope, will come out soon. So that's the story around Saraba. So one of the other things that I want to share with all your audience and your folks who watch this channel and who are going to be listening or watching this interview is I am starting a new podcast. So Jhon and I had a little exchange, and I said I want to talk about it. It's called Igniting Joy, which means lighting a little spark that allows joy to come out for everybody, right? And it's the reason I went down this path is because in recent times, we see there's a lot of negativity in the world. People are tearing each other down. You touched on xenophobia earlier. There is that. There is tribalism. There is a lot of, animosity different groups have with each other, and there's a lot of negativity. So I said, let us do something that is of a positive nature so that people can feel good about everything. So this is a podcast where each week I have a guest. The guest and I talk for a little while. We play some music that the guest selects, and the music can be from any part of the world. And then we talk about what they are doing in their life, which is making a difference around them, which is making a difference in the community around them, and which is hopefully, you know, if everybody starts to think that way, the world can become a better place, I think, right? Because we are all individuals, we're all part of communities, and all these communities make up the big global world community, right? So that is the whole idea behind this podcast. We talk about different, I'll give you an example, just some small examples. There are some individuals who will talk about um, things like they have started film festivals, others have has opened theater companies, some people are artists, they are painting, others are helping transgender folks with their journey, some people are struggling with their own disability, but they have conquered that and now they're helping others. We're also discussing LGBT issues. So it's a whole range of topics. Every week this will happen. It will be called Igniting Joy, and it will be aired by Ruckus Avenue Radio. So shout out to Ruckus Avenue Radio for supporting me on this. And then it will also be available. The podcast will be available on iTunes, Spotify, all the usual places where you find podcasts. So it's going to be there. And for each episode, hopefully we can release a little video, because while we're talking, we took some video just to sort of capture the moment. And I won't tell you who all the guests are, because some of them are people that we are all friends with. So you can guess who some of the guests might be. So, but there are many guests. But there are many. But the first season will come out sometime in March, and of course I will be putting posts out there on Instagram. And Jhon and I follow each other on Instagram now, so it'll be there. And if Jhon, if you want, I can send you separate email with that information as well, so you can put it out there if you wish. Yeah. And I would happily be very happy if people from Colombia and all your listeners all over the world support it. Right now it is focused only on people that I have talked to in the United States, but very soon I'm going to expand it, and I'm going to be talking to people in other countries. I'm hoping to talk to somebody in Australia, somebody in India, somebody in the UK, somebody in France. Let's see, maybe somebody even in Colombia.
If you need a translator, I'm available. Don't worry.
Okay, absolutely. Because the one thing I know, that if we do it in Colombia and somebody suggests a song, I love the beat of Spanish music. It is just so lively. So in many ways, it is like Indian music. It is very lively. And so because we always play one or two songs in the show as well, that the guest decides that they want to share.
And what artists for Colombia do you like? What music that I know Shakira is very known worldwide, but what do you? She's everywhere, man. No, but she's our daughter, no? But what artists from Colombia do you know?
No, I will be making a fool of myself if I start to name anyone, but I'm going to just say that I love the beat of, there is a certain different rhythm. Even when you speak Spanish, right? It has a different rhythm, the language itself. And I think that rhythm is very similar to the rhythm we have in many Indian languages. It's very different from English, because English is a very, different kind of language. Spanish is very phonetic, right? Just like a lot of Indian languages are. Which is why, see, when I said my name, Puneet, you said it so beautifully, because you can say the T sound exactly like it should be.
Wow.
Gracias por la oportunidad. Buena semana, mucha salud, vida y bueno, lo mejor para siempre.
He says, have a nice week, a lot of health, a lot of good life. Is that what he says?
No, thank you so much. I also wish you all both the same. And thank you again for having me on here. I hope we will get a chance to talk more, because there's a lot of other projects coming, and hopefully we'll talk about those in the future as well.
John, que él quiere hablar después de más proyectos.
Sí.
You are more than
Yes.
welcome.
Yes,
Yes,
welcome
you are
forever, man.
No.
welcome forever.
Well, thank you so much. And I will separately, let's connect and find out when this is going to air and everything so we can talk
Yes.
about it and let people know. Thank you so
John,
much.
I will say that. John, que le haga saber cuando salga la entrevista.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.